$1,000. Average annual wage is $1,000. Great Depression and World War II were still in the distant future. This was a very different world than we live in today. Marie HelenTurner was born on November 16, 1922, at home to Joseph and Isabel Fourier. She was one of 12 kids born to them. She was one of the 6 who survived beyond infancy. Her brothers were Leo, Bennett, and Morris. Her sisters were Louise, Lorraine, and Catherine. And Lorraine is still alive today. In conversations about her childhood, she spoke very fondly of the memories that she had. She was raised in a loving household, and she cherished the time with her sisters. She actually rode a sleigh to school in the wintertime. They tried it in the summer, it didn't work out so well on the road. She loved ice skating and then getting warm by the fire. And she talked about being pursued by a friendly boy or two as a small girl. She loved her family life. She mentioned more than once the great respect she had for her mother for working so hard while her dad was away on the fishing boats. She met her husband Alfred when she was very young, practically a child herself. When she married him in 1940, they went on to share 70 years of marriage. When World War II came, Marie found herself basically a single mother for 5 or 6 years while Vern was overseas fighting. When the war ended, Marie had the task of turning her warrior husband, with lots of rough edges, into a gentleman and a father for her children. Without Marie, there was no Vern the way we knew him. When she came to the USA, she set up house in a 27-foot trailer. She and her husband were young and they were hungry. And so began the familiar American dream for Marie. Raising a family on pennies at first, saving, achieving success, raising a family of 4 kids, Don, Diane, Bobby, and Cheryl, helping her kids through challenges in their lives in a variety of ways. Then followed the waves of grandkids and great-grandkids. However, if we're to look at the life Marie led, we need to understand there was another man in her life. For many years, while she did love Vern with all of her heart, she unapologetically shared the heart with a tight-panted gentleman from Wales. You may know him as Tom Jones, but to her, it was TJ. This is something else that stuck out to me. She learned how to drive when she was 52. I can't even imagine that. Learning to drive is something for very young people. That must have been terrifying for her. She took partial lessons at Sears. She practiced with the help of her son, Don. And this is the quote. She also says that she learned by, quote, watching Vern make driving mistakes, end quote. She actually believed that. Later, Marie endured the most dreaded fear any parent can imagine, the loss of her daughter, Diane. As it would with anyone, this shook her to her core. She endured this tragedy without losing her faith or her spirit. While a tragic loss like that had implications for the rest of her life, she simply kept going with a strength that just defies imagination. Humble roots, Great Depression, World War, changing countries, loss of a daughter, literally watching every friend you have pass away before you, and the loss of your partner of 70 years. Through all this, without fail, Marie lived with grace. never showed any visible scars. She had the same smile for the world even as recent as last week. However, it may not be popular, but she did have some shortcomings. We're going to talk about those. Somehow she managed to live an entire life without losing her faith. She managed to live her entire 90 years without seeing one bad thing in a person. She lived her life without holding grudges, without being bitter, without any cynicism whatsoever. How many people today can you say that you know that have absolutely no guile whatsoever? None. Now, I include these traits as her defining hallmarks, and I'm sure you have others. She had a matter-of-fact and unassuming way of approaching life. She had, even at 90, with her family and all that she'd experienced, she still went to her grave with a sort of innocence about her. How does anybody do that? She defined generosity. She was, in a term, elegant simplicity. Even when she argued, she was gentle. In fact, unless you knew her, you may not know she was even mad at you or that you were in an argument. Some of these memories of her will always be with me. And again, I'm sure you have others. The smell of her house, the fresh smell of her towels and her pillowcases, a warm smile, an easy laugh, an over-the-top fear of bees. She was ridiculous. An hour to get ready to the grocery store in time. And you go to the grocery store, and there they are in slippers and sweatpants and God knows what hairstyle. And there's Grandma. She took an hour to go there, fully made up. Her shoes were always so small, and they never got dirty. And I know I've discussed this with a couple of you, but always wondering what she was actually doing just before I arrived, unannounced. I never called her to tell her I was coming, and when I walked in the house, no TV, no radio, the house is spotless. I swear to God, my witness, she was sitting on the couch waiting for the doorbell to ring. And then a supply of cookie and Pepsi. One day, a couple of years ago, I asked about her death and how she felt about the end of her life. She told me it was sad to have seen all of her friends go and her family before her. She felt at peace with the idea of passing on. She shared that she looked forward to heaven when it was her time, and she said that in such a way that just blew my mind. She was absolutely convinced. Total faith. Elegant simplicity. You know, we really started to lose her over this past year. Even in this past few months, as the fog of inevitability surrounded her more fully, she was still in there, and still a little bit of herself. As you bent down to help her, she puts her arms up and she gives you a kiss on the cheek. Just as though you wouldn't even know she was even alert. If you touched her hand, she would hold your hand. And she'd let you do that for as long as you wanted. I received news of Grandma's passing on Saturday evening. We were with good friends, having dinner and drinks. We toasted her at that moment. We truly celebrated her life. And we continue to celebrate today. I'm happy. I'm happy because I know she was ready. She actually said she was ready. She said she wanted to go. She told me that. I know that she's happily touching that green grass of home at this moment. And is at some huge dance, correcting the details of the story Big Al is trying to tell without being interrupted. Thanks, guys.